Hello guys and gals, my name is DJ Panda, and it gives me great pleasure to welcome you to my Draw My Life. Now I've been wanting to do this video for a while. I'm really excited to get into this, so we're going to go ahead and jump right in. Now for starters, I was born in Orange County in the city of Placentia Linda at the Placentia Linda Hospital. It's an old person's hospital now, but either way, that's where I was born. Before it was in only older people hospital. At 7 pounds and 17 ounces, full name Joshua Michael Duran. Now, I never met my father at all, so it was just me and my mom growing up all the time, and my sister as well, who's 3.5 years older than me. Her name is Ashley. She was there with me as well. And I was born on March 3rd, 1996. Alright, so on to the next part here. So, for my first 5 years of growing up, I mainly lived with my grandparents. My mom was never really around, so I lived in Yorba Linda. And also, while I was living with my grandparents, that's where I actually found the best friend I've ever had in my entire life, and his name is Michael. I've known him ever since I was 5 years old. So now, continuing on here, my mother was away at work a lot, so as I said, my grandparents practically raised me for the first 5 years of my life. My mom was gone to work all the time, never really home, and eventually that started to change as I got older. Closer to 6 years old, my mom started to be home a lot more. I think she eventually lost her job, I can't really remember, but either way, I mean, she wasn't around that much for a while, and then she was. So yeah, made me kind of sad, but you know. So yeah, as I said, it was my grandparents who practically raised me. And they technically raised me my entire life. We'll get to that a little later on. My grandparents are really awesome. They've always been there for me through the hard times and everything, and they've always just made my life so much better in times of hardship. So I can't thank them enough for that. So now we're going to go ahead and get on to the subject of school. Now, when I was growing up, school was never exactly the greatest. I was your stereotypical, nerdy white kid, always getting good grades and everything. And so, along with that, as you would guess, there's going to be a couple bullies. Yeah. And I also got into a lot of fights because of what was going on at home. I was living in a very bad environment, which I'll get onto in a second. But, yeah, school was never really the greatest for me. I hated school. Okay. So now we get to the part where everything totally went to crap in my life. At the age of 7, my mom went to a Food for Less to buy some items for, just groceries and stuff. And at that store, she met this man called Moses. And, it was just, I don't know. Typical meeting, them two talking, became friends, that sort of thing. I don't know what went through my mother's head, but we ended up moving into his house immediately after she met this guy. And it was the worst thing that literally happened in my entire life. We lived there for a total of 7 years, and I was abused constantly. It was horrible. I was stuck there for 7 years until I was the age of 12, and the things that were done to me were unspeakable. It was crazy that I managed to ever get out of there. It was bad. So, and the only way I was thankfully ever to escape that was by going to my grandparents' house. They'd pick me up every now and then when I was on summer vacation from school, or like I had a month off, and I get to go to their place. So I can't thank them enough for that either. They really saved me as much as they could from that horrible, horrible place. It took me a long time to be able to talk about it too. That's how bad it was. But, so at the age of 12, like I said, we ended up moving out of his place and into an apartment. And during that time that we were staying at Moses' place, he ended up changing my mom basically into the person that he was. Not the abusive part, but not the physical abuse, but like emotional and mental abuse was still done to me while after leaving his place and the years after. So yeah, I never fully got away from his place, even though we ended up moving, which sucks. We eventually ended up moving into a second apartment, and even then things still didn't change at all. I was literally a prisoner in my home growing up like my entire life. I was never allowed to go out with any friends, have any parties, go to any parties, nothing. I was literally in seclusion. I was never even allowed to get a job at 16, nothing. I was not allowed to have a normal life at all. So eventually, at the age of 16, I was fed up. That was it. I wanted to change my life. I wanted to stop. And so I said, enough is enough. I decided to take things into my own hands and change my life so I can actually have a life. I eventually went over to my grandparents' house at one point, and I stayed there for a good solid couple months, which was surprising me when it let me stay for that long. Eventually came the point where she said she wanted me to come back home. And of course, I did not want to. There was no way in hell I was going to go back to that place. It was still a horrible place like at Moses' house, and I was not going to go back. So, since my grandparents knew exactly what I was going through and what I suffered, well, yeah, I said in my head no, as the picture is going to show right here. And I took things into my own hands. Of course, as I said, my grandparents knew what I was going through, and so they were with me. They helped me out with this a lot. I called the police. We told them the story, and they came over to my place, and they were waiting for my mom when she arrived. And they told her straight up to her face that she cannot force me to go home. I can choose to stay where I want. She can't do anything, even though she's still my guardian and I wasn't 18 yet. And those were the best words that I've ever heard in my entire life, and that I will never, ever, ever forget. That was the best moment of my entire life. And so that's it. That's my life. And I couldn't be more thankful that I was able to get out of that literal hell that I was in. It was crazy, and I'm so thankful for how things ended up turning out, that I was able to get away. I never ever thought that it would ever happen at all. So now, going on to the part of where I started YouTube. In 2009, I started making videos as sort of a way to cope and escape with the life that was going on around me. I would just make random stuff, music videos. A lot of my old videos I had to delete because of copyright issues. Some of them you can still see, but either way, yeah, that's basically when I started. Just making random stuff, you know, get on my way. And now we get back to the present. We're here now. Well, I mean, obviously we're here now, but yeah, that's basically it. That's my life up until this point. So thank you so much for joining me for this video of my life, and thank you for watching my Draw My Life. Until my next video, I'll see you guys then. Alrighty, bye bye.